In his little shop in Israel, he put up a card on the wall. If you're ever backpacking through Cochabamba, stay with this family. This is in the early 80s, early to mid 80s. If you're ever backpacking through Cochabamba, and I have friends that knew the people personally, worked with them, and I received some of the detailed figures and statistics. Some of my former students were actually involved with them for a time. If you're ever backpacking in Cochabamba, Bolivia, oh, sure, it's going to be a lot of people. You should go there and stay. They'll really take good care of you. Over a 10-year period from the mid-'80s to the mid-'90s, more than 3,000 Israelis stayed in their home and heard the gospel and heard about the Jewish roots of the faith through this couple. How wild. I have a friend, leading pastor in Sweden, such solidarity with Israel. He's got a large church. When they remodeled the building, they have with Jerusalem stone in the building. He had an artist do a depiction, it's just these little, very tiny figures that she drew and then copy. There are actually 6 million as a constant reminder of these tiny figures. 6 million as a constant reminder of the Holocaust. He actually bought a large ship, like a cruise-sized ship, to help Jews leave Russia and come to Israel. During the Gulf War in 1991, he called the Israeli government and said, "What can we do?" Now, this was a man that years earlier was not pro-Israel at all. But out of following Jesus and following the Scriptures, this was birthed in his heart. I'm going to close in Romans 11 in a moment, but I just want you to hear this. 91, Israeli government, what can we do to help? They said, bring people over. I mean, tourism goes way down. They brought 900 people over from their church during the Gulf War, and as the Scuds were falling, they would stand on the roof of the hotels as the Scuds were falling and pray for Israel. When I read about anti-Semitism in church history, it was so strange because I never saw it or experienced it. And in so many nations where I'll preach and share these things, they're in a state of shock because it's not part of their national history. They've never seen it or experienced or know anything about it. I went to Korea for the first time in 1990. In fact, I'll tell you that in a minute. Kenya, 1989. I was traveling with 2 friends, Jewish believers. One of them had lived in Israel for many years, still does. We meet a guy there named Shadrach. Good biblical name. Shadrach with his backpack. Stacked with tape. I mean, he's got a backpack filled with tapes. We meet him, start talking to him. He tells us, my mission, I go all over the city here. He's in Mombasa. I'm trying to go all over Kenya. I give these tapes away free. I got them from a woman teaching in America about why the church should pray for Israel and bless Israel. He said, I give these out all over the country. We were the first Jews he ever met. There was 3 the same day. It was overwhelming. Where does this stuff come from? I'm just talking about mainly my own experiences and things I've run into. And I'm only just giving you bits and pieces here and there. I told one of my rabbi friends, I said, if I take you around the world, you'd be honored and loved everywhere you went. You have no idea. So I go to Korea the first time in 1990. And you may not know much about the Korean church, but the gospel only went there with Protestant missionaries towards the end of the 1800s. Then in 1907, they had some real spiritual revival. And then after the Korean War, most of the Korean Christians had been in the north. They fled to the south. Some went underground. Some were killed. But the percentage of Christians in the southern part of Korea was maybe 2 or 3% after the Korean War. And then they began to have a season of spiritual revival, and the numbers went up to about 25%. It's quite striking. I'd fly Korean Air and be amazed how many people were reading Bibles, especially some years back. It seemed to be a great season of spiritual revival. And in a country with Buddhist background, Christianity would seem to be making an impact everywhere. And I've never known anyone that prayed like the Koreans pray. I met one pastor who's responsible for about 70,000 believers. I was doing a conference at his church. And I found out that every morning for many, many, many years, every morning he led the 6 a.m. prayer meeting in his church for many, many, many years. Oh, he also led the early morning prayer meeting at 4:30. 6 was the later one. I asked him, how much do you sleep? Maybe about 3 hours a day. Tremendous people of prayer. You drive together in the car and you just have to take a little nap because of the rigor of the schedule. We get to Korea, first time. I was wiped out from the 14-hour flight. Then I found out I had to speak the first morning. I was there. I spoke. I was tired. I took a nap that afternoon. We were outside in the suburbs of Korea. Hardly any signs in English or anything like that. In the suburbs of Seoul. And somebody's translator, PhD in math or engineering, real sharp guy. Dr. Brown, come on. We better go get something to eat before the place is closed. 6 o'clock, I'm too tired. 7, I'm too tired. 8, almost 9. He goes, Dr. Brown, if we don't go now, they'll be closed. I said, okay, where do you want to go? I said, well, I actually noticed the sign that said pizza down the block. You know, it was one of the only English signs I saw. So we go walking over there, but the place is closing. We missed it. But the guy volunteers, which surprised my translator. There's another pizzeria. If you go here, block. We never would have found it. In this block, around here, back there. So we get there, sit down, and only 4 of us there. My translator and I and another couple. But another couple's not Korean. And I said to my translator, wait, quiet for a second. And I look up at these people. I say to them in Hebrew, you're Israelis. My eyes are, giant. Their eyes are giant. I said, what are you doing here? And they gave the typical Israeli answer, clean pizza. We're eating pizza. So I asked them, there are many Israelis here? No, very few. We just got here a few weeks ago. And she, my girlfriend, lives here. I just came. And I said, Israelis. My first 24 hours in Korea, there I'm meeting Israelis. And I felt God just speaking something to my heart. That he's raised up the Korean church, yes, to be a blessing to Korea, and yes, to send out missionaries to the nations, but also to pray for Israel, because nobody prays like that. Well, for 4 straight trips, each trip. And I surveyed everyone in this church where I was speaking and this Bible school, Bible college where I was teaching. Have you ever met an Israeli in your country? Well, we met Jews. No, an Israeli, someone born in it. No, we haven't met Israelis. I said, I did. And then next trip I'm leaving, I'm at the airport, Kimpo International Airport. That's where we flew in at that time. Korean Air. And who do I end up talking to at great length? We just had 3.5 days of prayer and fasting. 1,800 Korean Christians shut up in a gymnasium for 3.5 days of prayer and fasting. And the last day, we had this tremendous time of prayer with many tears for Russian Jews and for Jews in New York City. And we were just praying specifically for that. And here I am at the airport now the next day. And who's there but a rabbi from New York City, long beard, the whole thing. And what's he doing in Korea? What does he eat in Korea? And I came up with my Hebrew Bible, and I asked him a question. He goes, that's a good question. Then we started talking back and forth. He found out what I believed and so on. He started challenging me. He said, well, just go the easy way. Just do it your way. Do what you want to do. And I said, hey, it's not always easy. I said, in fact, we just had 3.5 days of prayer and fasting. I said, we were crying out to God for you. I said, the day is going to come when we're the only true friends you have. And we got to talk. We had a layover in Anchorage, Alaska, and got to talk for a good solid hour. And then the next trip. It's getting my attention. God's saying something here. Then the next trip. And bear in mind, I've been teaching all this week, however many, 25, 30 hours, just with scripture and reference and facts and Hebrew and rabbinic literature. Now I'm just sharing some stories with you.